There are some dishes that you grow out of, and then there are the ones that follow you your entire life. For me, Bánh Canh Cua is one of them. When I traveled back to Vietnam, I noticed that there are actually so many different types of bánh canh. But the one I want to show you today is Bánh Canh Cua, which is the one I grew up with, the crab version. Now, traditionally, this dish can be pretty labor intensive, especially if you're making the noodles yourself or picking apart the crab meat by hand. But over the years, my mom has found small little shortcuts to make this completely doable for everyday cooking. So let me show you how to do that in 4 simple steps. So while bánh canh can vary a lot in terms of its toppings, the broth is almost always made with pork bones. From bánh canh giò heo to bánh canh cua, pork bones really give the broth a rich sweetness that just makes the dish so comforting. And then the other toppings like seafood and additional proteins get layered on top for extra sweetness and depth. So today I'm going to be using some pork riblets. Pork spine bones or pork neck bones would be amazing options as well, but since I'm making these for my kids today, I think the pork riblets are the perfect size and easy to eat for them. First, we're going to parboil and rinse the riblets really well to get rid of any scum and impurities. Then I'm going to be transferring everything into the clean inner pot of my Instant Pot, adding some water, salt, a whole onion, and some rock sugar, and I'm going to start to build our broth. Set it on manual for 25 minutes, and after that, we're going to do a quick release. So while the Instant Pot works on our broth, let's talk a little bit about the toppings. Because this is Bánh Canh Cua, of course, we have to talk about the crab. In Vietnam, the vendors often use fresh crab meat, which adds so much sweetness to the broth. And even home cooks over there have got it so good because you can buy fresh crab meat already prepared and ready to cook at any local supermarket. I'm so envious of that. Although I do have access to some pretty good crab because I live in Canada, what I don't always have is time. I honestly don't even want to think about cooking whole crabs and then picking out the meat to make this dish. So most of the time when I cook this dish, I either use canned crab meat or frozen crab meat. And honestly, it works just as well. So if you buy frozen crab meat, what you're gonna have to do is let it thaw and then get rid of all this excess water, okay? Drain it really, really well. Then you're going to get yourself a hot pan and we're gonna begin by sauteing some shallots in annatto oil. So saute it until it builds some fragrance, and then we're gonna be adding in our crab meat and letting it brown slightly. Then season it with some fish sauce, chicken powder, and black pepper. To this crab mixture, I'm now gonna add a couple of spoonfuls of crab paste. This is the same crab paste that we often use for bún riêu, and this is gonna add even more depth and richness, okay? And it's gonna give our broth a really nice, vibrant orange color as well. And I'm also gonna be adding some jumbo shrimp to my bánh canh because my son just absolutely loves how big they are. So I'm just gonna quickly blanch these until they're opaque and just cook through, and I'll set them aside until I'm ready to use them for the toppings. So I'm just peeling the jumbo shrimp, but I'm gonna leave the tail on for decoration. And as I'm preparing these super decadent toppings for my kids, I can't help but think back to when my mom would always make this for me as a kid. When we first came to Canada, we really didn't have much, and Vietnamese ingredients were really, really hard to find, not like now. My mom was also trying to navigate a completely new city while trying to raise me. But somehow, every once in a while, she would find a way to make Bánh Canh Cua. I remember us taking the bus and venturing to Chinatown to find all these ingredients, carrying it back through the snowy streets, and then lugging it up 3 flights of stairs into our tiny apartment. I would sit cross-legged on the floor, eating this on the coffee table while watching Disney movies that my brother had recorded for me over blank VHS tapes. And though we didn't have much, in that moment, I felt like I had everything I needed. I think that's why this dish is still so special to me, because back then, all I saw was a delicious bowl of soup, but now when I think about it, I see effort, care, and love. So, con cảm ơn mẹ. Thank you, Mom. So after a quick release, you should be left with a really clean, flavorful pork broth and really beautifully tender riblets. I like to transfer my broth into another pot so I have more room to work. Then I'm gonna season it with some chicken powder and some fish sauce to taste. Mix together about a half cup of tapioca starch with about a cup of water and stir it until it's completely smooth. Then with this mixture, I'm gonna slowly pour it into my simmering broth while stirring constantly. And you're gonna start to see the broth thicken into that signature silky bánh canh consistency. Some people like it really, really thick. This is as thick as I like it. So depending on how you like it, you can keep adding more tapioca slurry as you wish. Finally, add back the sauteed crab meats and mushrooms and let everything simmer together for a few more minutes so all those flavors can kind of meld together. Look how beautiful this is. So delicious. Now, while Bánh Canh is often called the Vietnamese version of udon, the noodles are actually made with tapioca starch, which is what gives them that chewy, bouncy texture. You can actually make Bánh Canh noodles pretty easily at home with a potato ricer and tapioca starch, but thankfully they also come frozen like this. And all you have to do is give them a quick blanch in boiling water to bring them back to life. Some people like to add the noodles directly into the broth, which you can totally do because tapioca holds up much better than rice or wheat. But personally, I prefer to keep them separate because I just find it easier to control the portions that way. With Bánh Canh Cua, there isn't really a specific herb that's served with it. Most bowls are simply dressed with green onions and cilantro, then finished however you like. Maybe a squeeze of lime, a dollop of chilies, just enough to balance out the richness of the broth. To build our bowl, start with some warm Bánh Canh noodles at the bottom, then layer on all the toppings, the riblets, shrimp, mushrooms, then ladle over that beautiful thick broth packed with all the crab meat inside. Honestly, if you've never had Bánh Canh Cua before, the thick broth might seem a little unusual at first, but I promise you it's one of the most comforting bowls of noodles you'll ever eat. Finish with some chopped green onions, cilantro, fried shallots, and that right there is the kind of bowl I hope my son remembers years from now, the same way I still remember my mom's. Oh my God, reminds me so much of my childhood. Let's give it a taste. There's something about the thickness of that broth that's just so comforting. It's like a hug in a bowl. This bowl is absolutely perfect. Any kid's dream. We have this beautiful, tender riblets in here. Then we have these amazingly chewy noodles. Tapioca noodles, so special because it has this nice chewy texture. Weirdly enough, I'm not the biggest fan of udon, but I love the tapioca Bánh Canh noodles. Even though we only use a small amount of crab, the flavors still really carry through in the broth. And of course, you got these big jumbo shrimp. Look at these guys. They're massive. I love it. Tastes exactly like home. Well, I hope you guys enjoy seeing that, and I can't wait till my son gets home so I can give this to him. As always, remember to subscribe and follow along for more Vietnamese recipes and stories. See you guys next week. Bye!